Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. In this one, I don't know that you've watched any of my other videos. I quite often say that I don't test my reef tank, and that's something that I want to get away from, because I've got people coming to me picking frags and things up, and they're asking me where my parameters are sitting, and I can't give them a straight answer. So we're going to compare two different brands of testing. We're going to go with the brand that when I do test, this is what I use. And if you speak to any, veteran reef keepers, they're probably, near enough everybody will warn you away from the API test kits. Now, when I first started one of my old tanks a couple of years ago, I bought this kit and used it occasionally just to make sure that the parameters were in check. I'm not expecting that this is going to be a highly accurate figure for any of the parameters, but I think so far it's got me in the ballpark. So when I did come to do a test the other day, I saw that every bottle was out of date. So expired June 2023. A lot of them expired around that time. That one's July 2022. It all came in the same kit, but they are all out of date. So I purchased some test kits. I had some things to take back to my local fish store, got some credit. So what I thought I'd do is buy a couple of test kits. Salifer is one of I'd say they're probably a mid-range test kit. They're not very expensive at all, but they do give out pretty good results from what I've heard. I have used them in the past in other tanks before I was using the API kit. So what I thought we would do in today's video is get some water out of the tank and do a few tests and see if there is a big difference between not only API, which is meant to be one of the worst unreliable kits, but testing an out-of-date API and a brand new in-date Salifer test. So let's go along and see how off or close the results are. With the nitrates on the API kit, it's a 2-bottle solution. The first bottle you add 10 drops. The second bottle you add 10 drops as well, so I know how to do that one. Pretty straightforward. So let's look at the Salifer nitrate kit. Hopefully it's just as easy, but I don't know. A nitrate one is not a Salifer kit I've ever done. So straight out of the box we've got, looks like some powder and some liquid. And Salifer mainly always do these colour sheets to gauge it against, which is why I think a lot of people don't like them, because everybody's eyes see things different. So, oh, there it is, and we get a little syringe, a little 2mm syringe and a little scoop. So on the instructions, we fill a test vial with 1 ml of water, add 4 drops of the liquid, and then 1 level scoop of the powder. Compress the powder against the inside of the powder container, swirl gently, do not shake, for 30 seconds, and then let it stand for 3 minutes. So with the API one, we need to let that rest for 3 minutes as well. But that's 5 ml of water. So let's get some water from the tank. they give us these little pots. So the fish are all getting excited. The lids come up, they think that I'm feeding. One thing about testing all these tanks, when you get these kits out, it doesn't half make me feel like a scientist. And I know reef keeping is quite scientific, managing all them parameters and keeping everything in check. You do have to have a certain degree of intelligence to do it. So I've got my 5mm in my API kit and I've got my 1mm in my Salifert kit. So we're going to drop 4 drops into the Salifert. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's that one. And then 1 level scoop of the powder. One level scoop of the powder. There we go. So we need to swirl that gently for 30 seconds, and while I'm doing that I'm just going to shake this bottle up and we'll add 10 drops into that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is where, when we're waiting for the results, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Me thinking that my nitrates are miles off could then, I don't know, see that my nitrates weren't that bad, or see that they were worse than expected because of the API test being out of date. So I'm going to set a timer for 2.5 minutes. I think I've been doing that 30 seconds now, so I'll set a timer and we'll come back with the results. So guys, 3 minutes have passed and I think we'll start with the API kit. So here on this side is the nitrate and you get the colour chart. Now the camera is dialed in to as close as what I can see, so we'll see what this comes out at. And looking at that colour, I would put it at around 10 to 20 parts per million. It's not as high as I've seen it, but it's definitely more yellow than it is like the orange and the reds further down. So if I was to do this test kit, looking at that, I'd say my nitrates aren't too bad. So I'd be relatively happy with that. And moving on to the Salifert kit, here's what we've got. You can see 0 is near enough undetectable, it's pretty much clear. And then we've got 2, 5, 10, 10 again, 25, 50 and 100. Now the way that you're meant to gauge these is by holding it up like I am doing and then holding the vial just next to it. And obviously I've already seen the colour of the solution, so I can already tell you that there is some big discrepancies with these test kits. So this is where we're at with this one. Just change that around, and as you can see, that colour is a very dark purple. It's if we was to be going by what the API kit said, where it's around 10 to 20, you can see that the Salifert one is nowhere near it, and the Salifert is giving a reading of like 100. So I'm not saying that the Salifert is 100% accurate, but out of the two, most people would probably side with the Salifert test kit rather than the API test kit. So looking at that, I would say it's probably in between the 100 and the 50, so probably around 75 parts per million. So that's a bit worrying. I have been doing weekly water changes, 25 litres, so 10% of the tank. It's probably a little over 10% with the displacement of the sand and the rock work. But that's where I'm at the moment with them test kits. So quite worrying really. Like I said, the API one, if you was to test with that, then you'd probably think it's not too bad, around 10 parts per million. However, the one thing that I do want to point out is most things in the tank are still doing okay. So as I've said in previous videos, what I usually gauge my parameters by is by looking at the tank and seeing if anything looks out of whack or anything's not doing well. So that's where we're at with that, the nitrate kit. So I will put this nitrate stuff away, I'll get the vials cleaned, and then I'll pick the camera back up and we'll do the phosphate one. So we're back with the phosphate kits, and it's a similar test to the nitrate with the Salifert one, where you've got your liquid and the powder, and then the phosphate kit for the API is again 2 liquid solutions, 5 ml of water. So I will get them filled up with water. The API, I'll be honest, the API kits are really easy to use. All you need to do is add the water and add the 2 bottles. The instructions are on the bottles, so it just says add 6 drops, shake well, that type of stuff. Whereas I think the the Salifert kits, you will need the instructions handy. Doesn't give you any instructions on the bottle itself, so keeping them boxes handy, keeping everything nice and tidy, which is something that I can sometimes struggle with. So with the Salifert kit, we've got to add 10 ml of water, and they only give you a 2 ml syringe. So it's adding 5 syringes worth. However, looking at that, there is on the vial itself, it goes up, so it's a square bottom and then turns into a round cylinder, and the 10 ml seems to be exactly on that line. So add 4 drops of the PO1, so that's the liquid reagent, and swirl gently for 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Give that a quick swirl, and then again 1 level scoop of the powder reagent and swirl for 30 seconds. Now the API kit is longer, because I think that says, yeah, you just have to swirl this for 30 seconds and then your readings are ready. The API is, again, I think you have to leave the API one for 5 minutes. So we'll put that powder in there. 1 level scoop again and swirl for 30 seconds. Already changing colour to a really dark blue, which is not what we want. I'm going to leave that out of sight for a minute and quickly do the API test kit. Still plenty in here, barely used it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the test kit that's from 2022, so it's 2 years out of date, and it has been opened as well, so I'm not sure whether these need to be used by a certain time after being opened, but if they do, you can see why these might definitely give us some really strange or false readings. So I'll give that a quick shake, and we'll have a look at the Salifer test because that's already done, just while we wait for the API test kit to be done. I'll bring you in. So I'm not sure I'm prepared for these results. This is the card, and where you would pretty much want your phosphates is around here, the 0.25, so just barely visible blue, until we bring mine in, and you can see that that is a very dark blue, definitely sitting around the 3 parts per million, which is extremely high, so not ideal. And the API test kit, we've got the colours along the bottom here. We've got the 0.25, 50, 1, 2, 4 and 10, and to me this is probably going to be reading around between the 2 and the 4. It's not as blue, it's definitely a bit more greeny, but either way, I'd say for a 2-year-old test kit, this is not a bad result in comparison to the Salifer. I think they're quite similar. However, the Salifer kit does only go up to 3. Obviously not many reefers like to keep the tank above 3, and I'm not saying that I do, but I would like a bit more over there to see if it is, see exactly what number it is. So with that being said, I'll just bring you a bit close to the tank and we'll have a quick look. Obviously, them results aren't ideal. The tank is not going to be thriving with them numbers. I've not scraped the glass either, guys, so you'll have to bear with me. However, what I can say is, you know, I've got some acro growing on this rock. That's growing okay. I've got plenty of hammers that are growing absolutely fine. I've got Duncans growing fine. I've got some German blue digitata up there, which is fine. Soft corals aren't doing well, the toadstools aren't doing good at the moment. I'm not sure whether that's because they've just doing their annual clean or their bi-monthly clean where they close up and get rid of all the gunk that's built up on them, or whether it's the coral beauty nipping at them, because this one here down the front, that one had a really massive head on it, and although I can't see any chunks missing out of it, it is definitely receding. So yes, with regards to the test kits, I think I can safely get rid of the API test kits now. They're out of date. I'm not going to ever use them again. I just wanted to keep them for this video, really, just to do a bit of a comparison. And in my opinion, I think, you know, keep your test kits up to date. I don't think it's about buying the most expensive test kits that you can. Obviously there are people that only test with HANA checkers. I haven't got the budget to be doing that. I don't feel like, you know, the corals that I'm keeping require that level of in-depth accuracy. As I've said in previous, you know, videos, I gauge my tank on how the corals are looking. The lights are still ramping up, so things aren't going to be as open or as bright at the moment, but it just goes to show that, you know, you can test with certain kits and think that everything's doing okay until you test with a different kit and you realise it's all out of whack and it's not accurate. But, you know, I've got fish breeding in this system. The bangais regularly have eggs now. If the water quality was that horrendous, would the fish breed? I'm not sure. I've got NEMs in here now. Well, I've always had NEMs in this tank. They're not splitting. So I think, you know, when people mention about water quality being bad and NEMs splitting, NEMs usually split when there's a big change in either lighting or parameters, or you've got poor water quality. It's basically like a self-preservation method for the anemones, that they will keep splitting and hope that one can survive if the current takes it away to a different place. So, but I am definitely going to be keeping on top of the tank. I've got some water warming up at the moment to do my weekly water change, and I think what I'll do is maybe try and increase it to 2 water changes a week, feed a little bit less and see how we get on from there, really. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you do have experience of the API test kits and you still use API test kits, let me know what you think. And on the other side as well, if there's any better test kits that you've, you know, compared against others, let me know, or just let me know what you're using. I'm always open to new suggestions. Thanks for watching, guys.